Talk about a twist. Talk about huge bombshells, major reveals, giving us insight into major plot points, characters, all sorts of stuff with Jujutsu Kaisen as of chapter 143. This was huge. Yo, Yuji's parents, his mom, his dad, a shot of his grandfather that we haven't seen in ages, but we know that his grandfather in the very beginning of the series was going to spill the beans on big plot points, but obviously that was held back for later on down the road to get big reveals and things like that. So just major plays alongside potentially a major death. So much to jump into Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm not even gonna lie, fam, like this is one of my faves right now. Out of all the stuff I'm reading each and every week, I am just thrilled and excited for the next chapter, and this chapter delivered so much. Yuta! I kind of called it, but yeah, let's get into it, baby. Let's talk a little bit of that Jujutsu Kaisen. Great! Yo, Noritoshi Kamo, you just did some craziness. Let's do it.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
Okay, I seen this floating around, and I absolutely 1000% gotta agree that it is wild that seemingly the main villain of Jujutsu Kaisen, or one of the main villains, I guess you could argue that, you know, Sukuna's up there as well, but Gecho or Noritoshi Kamo in particular, he has the honor of saying, hey, to the main character, which how many villains in Shonen Jump manga history are able to say this? I banged your dad, fam. And before we jump into that, I just gotta say something about 142, because the last chapter was a big battle between Naoya versus Choso, and Choso went in. He was, you know, struggling but still doing his thing, and in the end it seems that Choso potentially died. It seems as though Naoya potentially killed Choso, which if that's the case, because 143 opens up with him just being like in one panel on the floor there looking like he's dead. RIP Choso if that's the case, because he gave it his all. He seemingly did his thing against Naoya, but fam, at the end of 142, where Yuta's just dragging Yuji's body to the fight site of Choso and Naoya, I was just like, oh my god. But yeah, Choso, if you are dead, man, RIP. What the heck? Why? Because 143 opens up with Yuta approaching Naoya saying, oh, you seemingly hurt. You want me to heal you? And again, like I said, there was just a small panel you see of like Choso's body just laid out. And don't forget that he just did that big technique. And seems as though he potentially was either out cold there or full on dead at the hands of Naoya, which at the end of the day, if he is dead, it would have been more so like self-inflicted, because he did this big giant technique and it would have possibly like drained him of his blood or something along the lines of that, because he released enough blood that it essentially poisoned Naoya. And I love how Yuta asked him like, hey, shall I heal you with my reverse heal technique, as long as, you know, just let your superiors know that Yuji is dead. And I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, like straight up, I was already convinced for the most part. I said it in my last video talking about the manga, that the way Yuta was approaching things, the way he was continuing to honor Gojo's name with referring to him as his sensei and things like that, I felt like he was just pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. Like he was just basically tricking people, and he had his own plans, his own agenda for how he was going to move. But before we even get that reveal, we cut into one of the biggest things that we've had in Jujutsu Kaisen history. Big reveals about Yuji's parents. While it was kind of vague, I kind of get an idea of potentially what was going on there. Because in the flashback, we see what appears to be Yuji's dad and somebody saying, Jin, hey Jin, and that's Yuji's grandfather that we've seen of course in the beginning of the series. And Yuji's dad is like, if it's about her, I'm leaving. And he told him to live your life how you want, but give up on that woman or you'll die. And the father was like, don't talk about such things in front of Yuji. Kids even at this age could potentially remember. And he said, I know you wanted a child and that didn't happen with Kaori, but her death was. And then the woman walks up and says, father-in-law, what are you talking about? And I'll be honest with you, from the looks of it, from what I could gather, because it did seem very, very odd, and this was all a dream sequence or whatnot, Yuji remembering certain things, which is very, very interesting that the father said that. But seems as though potentially, here's what my guess is. Something happened where Yuji's father was in love with a woman, Kaori. Potentially something happened to her and he still wanted a child with her, and somehow, some way, Noritoshi Kamo, whether it was Yuji's father himself that implanted Noritoshi Kamo's brain into her body, something happened there where Yuji's father, and he was aware of it for the most part, had Yuji's mother revived using Noritoshi Kamo's brain. Again, I don't know if he knew the extent of it or whatnot, but the grandfather was like, yo, she is dead. What are you doing? And it seems as though the father, Jin, was like, yo, I don't want to hear about it. If it's about the mom, I don't want to hear about it. Basically, it seemed like Yuji's father was in denial, or just in general didn't want to hear it, because as long as he had his woman standing there, even if it was a whole different person inside the body, he didn't care. Or it was that he was blind to it, and the grandfather knew what was up, because the way he's talking, he's telling the father in the chapter like, yo, I know you wanted a child with Kaori, but after her death, and if Kaori is standing right there with the scar over her brain, either again the father knew about it, or he didn't believe the grandfather. Something very strange there, but either way, that was the mother, and it seems as though Noritoshi Kamo and potentially the connection to Choso, whether they're actually brothers or not, Yuji and Choso or whatnot, was through the mother. Noritoshi Kamo was inside of Yuji's mother. Bam! Fam! I can't wait to get more of this. It was what, a couple pages or something like that, and it was so freaking quick. I was like, oh my god, this is so good. So Yuji's father, whoever he was, yeah, he was in love and seemingly lost his woman, and Noritoshi Kamo was like, fam, I'll bang you. So dark and twisted, but so epic, and I can't wait for more. Oh my god, when we get the full-on backstory, exactly putting everything into context, it's gonna be glorious. But it seems to be the case that Jin, Yuji's father, was very distraught, and by any means he didn't care as long as his woman was there and that child. And I'm curious, was Yuji born after the fact? Like, did Jin sleep with Noritoshi Kamo and then, or Noritoshi Kamo inside Kaori's body and then Yuji was born, or what's going on here? Because the way the grandfather said, like, I know you wanted a child with Kaori, whatnot, like as if she was already dead. Just so many questions right now, like I'm so blown away. I guess there's also the possibility that this woman that Noritoshi Kamo was inhabiting was not actually Kaori, so there's that. Maybe that's the woman that raised Yuji, again Noritoshi Kamo. And honestly, it was just like mind-blowing, incredible thing. And the crazy thing is that like that wasn't the only big thing about the chapter, because again, we just talked about Choso's potentially dead in the beginning of the chapter. Then we get this bombshell of like a bit of Yuji's backstory with his father, his mother, another shot of the grandfather, Noritoshi Kamo, like insanity. But Yuji wakes up next to Yuta, and Yuta is like, what a relief. And again, like I said, I already knew. Like as soon as, especially when I saw that, I was like, nah, I knew it. Because Yuta goes on to explain that around September, Gojo approached him, which it's kind of funny, and when I hear these things, I'm like, I wonder if it was around September that Gege Akutami had these ideas of the next steps and incorporating Yuta, and maybe the editor came to him. Like I just get these things in my mind of like, maybe that's what he was kind of masking and portraying the story as, but really in reality, like this is when he thought of these things. But either way, he's like, yo, in September, Gojo approached me and was like, yo fam, in case something happens to me, I really want you to watch over my students, especially in particular this Yuji Itadori kid. And it was also interesting that Hakari was mentioned. He said Hakari should be fine, which if I'm not mistaken, Hakari is the other student who's a third year, and he's like kind of been put in the same class as like, yo, Yuta, special child, special, abilities, things like that, very strong, and Hakari as well. I can't wait to get more of him, but that's just another thing that Gege Akutami got waiting in the wings. Like, I'm not gonna be spoiled about it and be like, oh my god, I want to know more too. Like, at the very least, we gotta mention, and knowing that he should be okay, we know that he ain't nothing to fuck with. And Yuta figured the only way to pull the wool over the organization's eyes was to accept a binding vow of basically, I will kill Yuji Itadori, in order for them to be like, okay, he's serious. If he's doing a binding vow, that I don't know what the consequences are for lying about a binding vow, but okay, this is legit. And he knew that more than likely it would work, of him being able to kill him and then using his reverse healing technique to bring him back. Like, as long as his heart stopped, bam, the vow was complete and he's good. So Yuta really did some insane shit. And again, this is not the same kid that we saw in Jujutsu Kaisen 0 that was scared of everything, very inexperienced. Like, this dude, to pull the wool over the organization's eyes and do all of this up until this point, mastermind type of style. And at the end of the day, is as simple as, hey, I'm doing it for people that are important to me. Of course, Inumaki, Gojo asked him to do it to begin with, but he's basically doing this for the people he cares about, because he knows that at the end of the day, he cares about those people, and they're probably not going to be, like, Gojo's not going to lie to him. He trusts Gojo. So if Gojo asks him to do this, I'm going to do it for Gojo. And I love it. I love it. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it wasn't like it was the most unpredictable thing in the world, because I've been saying it for a few weeks now, but even though the battle was short-lived, it was really dope, and I love seeing both of them together, although I'm imagining there's going to be consequences once once it is found out that Yuta lied for helping them out, like, yeah, they're gonna come after him as well. And I love how he even gets into a little bit of the backstory of like the things of Jujutsu Kaisen 0, how he once had a power that he thought was forced upon him, but he actually invited it into him, and he's of course referring to Rika and things like that. But the difference here is that Yuji really didn't have no choice. According to Yuta, I think to a certain degree there was a choice. Like at the end of the day, Yuji did decide to eat the finger, and he did decide to go along with things instead of being executed. Okay, the execution part, like, hey, do you want to live or die? Obviously you're gonna say you want to live, but he did make the choice of eating the finger, but then at the same time it was like, hey, it was still a life or death situation. So technically, yeah, Yuji, it was really forced on him one way or another. He had no choice to a certain degree. And then Megumi shows up, which conveniently it's been a while, but I'm imagining Yuta had these things planned out, and he's like, yo, come on, let's go back, we can sneak into the school, as long as nobody sees your face, it'll be alright. And Yuji's like, yo, everything ain't going back to normal, fam. This is Jujutsu Kaisen, okay? We're not just going back to, you know what I'm saying, we're not retconning what just happened, fam. Like, no. I love Jujutsu Kaisen, damn it. Yuji says, stop acting like everything is back to normal. I killed people, which you could tell that it's really a giant burden on Yuji's shoulders still at this point of everything that just happened in Shibuya when Sukuna took over and just was decimating blocks and shit. Like, yo, Shibuya is going down as a classic arc, especially when that gets animated. Oh my god. But even the implications of just look at Yuji's character, where it's at right now, that he is just in inner turmoil at this point, unsure if he should even be allowed to live at this point, technically, because of what happened. But I like how Yuta at the very least he sparked the idea in his head of like, yo, but you were forced into this situation. Like me, I invited it into my life to a certain degree with Rika and shit. You had no choice. So hopefully that kind of marinates in Yuji's mind at the very least moving forward, because as of right now, he's still very, very much so conflicted, very much so still blaming himself for everything that happened in Shibuya, even though, fam, it was Sukuna. It wasn't like you decided, yo, I'm gonna just start blowing shit up. And of course, Megumi tries to convince him like, yo, fam, it's our fault. Like, don't give up and die alone here. And even given the speech about no one can judge us, we just gotta keep on saving people. Like, I like that Megumi is actually being that voice of reason, because right now, Yuji probably feels very alone. Like, let's keep it real. He don't know Yuta. Gojo is sealed up somewhere. He's a wanted criminal. Any voice like that, especially from a friend, this is probably the one that he's going to take in the most right now, because Choso, you know, try to tell him a little something, but who's Choso? Just some weirdo that's saying he's his brother out of nowhere, so he's not gonna really trust that. Yuta, he don't know him, so he's like, okay, you helped me out, cool shit, but I don't know you. Megumi coming in and telling him these things, that's what he needs to hear from somebody that he needs to hear it from. And I love too when Yuji, I forget if he said it or thought it, of as long as I'm around, you will continue to suffer, and Megumi says, start by saving me. Like, really, really dope stuff. Megumi really being what Yuji needed right now in this very, very dark situation that he's in. And apparently Noritoshi Kamo wants to do a culling game, and at first I was confused. I was like, wait a minute, the Noritoshi Kamo we know right now, the descendant, or the one that's inside of Geto's brain? But I think that they're not calling him Geto anymore now that they know that it's Noritoshi Kamo's brain. And it's also really dope that the anime and manga have things planned of bringing up Sumiki, Megumi's sister. Like, she just got mentioned in the anime, and now they're bringing it back up in the manga. You know those things are planned, and I love when they do it. And then we get the big rules, which we're gonna read them out real quick right here. The rules for the culling game, because it was a lot to take in. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm probably gonna have a tough time remembering all of them, because I think there were 8, but they were very specific rules. And the one that I gathered the most from, I'm going to quickly mention, was the technique being removed at number 8. You can get your technique removed, which I think that's going to be something. Somebody is going to have their technique removed at the end of the culling game. I don't know if it'll be Yuji. Doubt it'll be Yuji. It could be Megumi. I think potentially it would be Yuta. That would be very interesting. At the end of the day, he's hacked as hell. He's up there. I could see it being Yuta being the one that number 8 on the rules during the culling game, he gets his technique removed. Maybe that's a wild theory now, but yeah, let's read the rules. Rule 1, after awakening a cursed technique, players must declare their participation in the culling game at a barrier of their choice within 19 days. So we're going to have prep time. Any player who breaks the previous rule shall be subject to cursed technique removal. I don't think that is going to play effect. Again, number 8, it'll happen potentially, but not number 2. Well, maybe a small fry, I don't know. Non-players who enter the barrier become players at the moment of entry and shall be considered to have declared participation in the culling game. So any you know, a stray person, normal person that enters is screwed. Players score points by ending the lives of other players. Yo, the villains are gonna have a field day with that. Number 5, points are determined by the game master and indicate the value of a player's life. As a general rule, sorcerers are worth 5 points and non-sorcerers are worth 1 point. So they're gonna slaughter humans. Like we just had how many deaths in Shibuya, and it continues. Number 6, excluding the point value of a player's own life, players may expend 100 points to negotiate with the game master to add 1 new rule to the culling game. That's gonna be interesting. Somebody's gonna have to make very quick work of a lot of the curses and get points in order to add like whatever. In accordance with the previous rule, the game master must accept any proposed new rule unless it has a marked and long-lasting effect on the culling game. So if the game master is Noritoshi Kamo, and let's just say Yuta decides like with 100 points, like, hey, I want everyone that's a part of the game except the good guys to all die, Noritoshi Kamo could say, no fam, that's not happening. And number 8, if a player's score remains the same for 19 days, that player shall be subject to curse technique removal. So if Yuji decides like, I'm not gonna do shit, it's a wrap for him. Likewise with anybody else. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I could see 8 hitting somebody, I just don't know who. And now that I think about it, I don't think Yuta would actually not do anything. He's probably gonna start slaying like an animal. This is gonna be crazy, but also that would mean like if Sumiki, let's just say, is a part of things, Megumi's sister, then yeah, she's gonna have to slay. If not, she'll be screwed. So regular people are going to be held accountable on number 8, and this is going to be crazy. Very, 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 very curious what you guys think about this chapter though. What the hell is going on with Yuji's parents? The mom being infected by Noritoshi Kamo. Was the father like that desperate because, you know, he was just distraught over losing the mother that he allowed it, or he wasn't really understanding of what was going on? The grandfather, what he was saying, like, your thoughts on that whole scenario there with Yuji's parents. Also, is Choso dead? Like, what the hell happened there? Your thoughts on the culling game. Your thoughts on just the chapter as a whole. The twist of Yuta basically stabbing the organization in the back over Gojo and helping out Yuji, and Megumi's return to the story. Just, this was a huge, huge chapter. And your thoughts and expectations for the Jujutsu Kaisen manga with chapter 144 and beyond. Every single week I am just like, yeah, give me another one, damn it, I love this story. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life. Bye. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And I don't know, Jujutsu Kaisen is just, it is greatness. I am fanboying and I don't care. I love it. Yuji's parents, damn it, his mom. Oh my god, the main villain fucked Yuji's father. What the hell? Have an awesome day.
So just go to find me.